What's going on, guys? Bart here with Tully Television. I want to thank all of you for stopping by, liking, commenting, sharing, all of that beautiful YouTube stuff. Only we can grow together with every interaction. It helps the algorithm. We're going to go straight to the moon, baby. I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but you keep liking and commenting, we're going to get there, man. Today, we're going to be getting into a comic book review. We're shaking off the month of spectacular October and going back to a little bit of the basics. We're going to be getting into Uncanny Xmen issue 11, the first part to Xmen Hunt. This cover is pretty fly, I'm not going to lie. Now, Gail Simone is the writer. Artist is Xavier, colorist is Matthew Wilson. The cover artist to this particular issue is David Marquez and Matthew Wilson. And of course, this is the team being led by Rogue in Louisiana, at the Haven House, so to speak. Now, this particular story that we're getting into, it's going to be another crossover event that's going on. We had a crossover event a few issues ago involving this title called Raid on Grey Malkin. The school, after the Krakoan era, had become a prison and is housing some of the more powerful mutants that the Earth can possibly fathom. Charles Xavier being one of them. He is one of the most powerful telepaths in the world. He can make you do anything you don't want to do or that you want to do. Like, put it this way, if he was born a psychopath, their world would be in trouble, okay? Not saying that Charles isn't a crazy old man in his own ways. He basically gathered a group of teenagers to become soldiers. And if you want to, he also spouts propaganda just as much as Magneto does back in the day when he was trying to push his message too. I digress, though. Let's get into this issue here. This story is 7 parts that scan throughout the rest of the X titles that were going on at this time. And we're not getting into the other parts because we haven't really been following those stories here at the channel. But basically, I'll wrap up the ending, so to speak, and where that lies in what was supposed to be going on in a current storyline now called Imperial. And I'm kind of curious how that played out because I don't really remember hearing about what happens here. So basically, we open up with an assassination attempt on Charles Xavier's daughter that he had with Lilandra. His daughter's name is Xandra Nuramani, okay? And we open up with her in space here, with her entourage, so to speak. And it seems like there's a rebellion. There's a mutiny that allows his mutinous friends to get on the ship and to try to take out Xandra because she happens to be the head of the Shi'ar Empire at this time of the story. And we have Deathbird here, her aunt, protecting her, basically saying if you want her, you gotta go through Deathbird. Deathbird has had an interesting history in the X-Men comics. One of my favorite arcs of hers was years ago, where she was kind of chilling with the X-Men, chilling with the Avengers and stuff like that, and trying to open up to being more open-minded and not so quick to violence and negative emotions, her intrusive thoughts. She's still a badass. She still will take you out where you stand if she feels you're a threat. But she's also learned the art of diplomacy, I believe, over the years. I think her character has become strong over the years. And forget, kind of how cool she can be. Then we open up at actual Grey Malkin now prison with Captain Ezra and Dr. Ellis. And what's going on is Xavier's vitals are going off the charts. It seems like he's crying, then his vitals are getting out of control, and it seems like he's having an apparent cardiac arrest. And why that is going on is that his mind, he's somehow been able to bypass the power dampening things that are keeping his powers at bay, but is able to see and experience what's going on the ship, all those thousands of light years, whatever the distance is. His powers are so strong, and I'm sure that his daughter has some sort of telepathic telekinesis power to where she's probably helping reach out to him, and because she's unaware of what's going on, she's got bigger fish to fry as far as running an empire, an intergalactic empire, right? Interstellar populations under her control, and she's not thinking her father is in a prison at the school he started on Earth. She's not even realizing that, and even if she did, she would assume that he would find a way to get out. And this is kind of the panels here. That's her over there reaching out to him, and it's become quite concerning for Dr. Ellis. She is afraid that if Xavier frees himself from his shackles, because she's not understanding what's going on, why he's all of a sudden looking to get the hell out of there, or cause, what is going on. But in the meantime, we're picking up at the Haven House, or the property, and Rogue's team, Wolverine, Gambit, Jubilee, Nightcrawler, they're going to give the Outliers a training session. But what they're doing is dialing it up to 11, this training session. It's almost now as if the kid gloves are off for these newer mutants, because the attack on them at the mall, the last story where the Sentinel Wolfpack almost took them out and stuff like that, took out Deathstream. But if it wasn't for certain things like Jitter helping him, stabilize his wounds, he could have been taken out, right? And so that prompted the team to kind of amp up their training sessions here. And so they're going to do their best to kind of simulate more of battles around them and stuff like that. And what Rogue has done is she's told Gambit, even though Rogue and Gambit are standing by the side to analyze, she's asked Gambit to throw a little monkey wrench into the training sessions, and it knocked Jitter out for a loop, and kind of people, most of the team got a little upset at her. Wolverine was understanding of what Rogue did and the techniques she's using, but Jubilee kind of called Rogue Cyclops, because it's like you're getting a little militaristic there, buddy, especially with a teenager there. But most of the X-Men has started off as teenagers. Kitty Pryde was 13, right? Like, I don't know. She had to be the youngest X-Men to join the team. Jubilee probably wasn't much older, but Jubilee was a mall rat. The older, when Wolverine and some of these newer guys back in the day joined, the second team of X-Men, so to speak, that They were kind of older, a little older, like early 20s. Wolverine was obviously hundreds of years old at this point, but they're still accepting students that are coming in young and wanting some training. And it seems like you have to, if you want to become a soldier, you have to simulate, wartime situations. I mean, that's the only way that you're really going to not fold under pressure. And guess what? In real life, soldiers, even with all the training, fold under pressure sometimes. And that's not to disparage them. So, for me, the American military, you know, say what you want to say about how they're used, but I'm appreciative of every man and woman in the part of the military because it gives me the opportunity to sit here and talk to a goddamn screen and yell at the sky. It gives me the opportunity to smoke pot and watch Thundercats or whatever it is I'm doing. So I'm grateful. And some of these people, I've had military uh, in my family, right, that were affected by what they've had to do, okay? And it affects them so bad, it gives them PTSD. I too have PTSD, and I can relate to that tension, even though mine came from a different type of trauma. I can still understand the trauma that they have, and I wouldn't want to wish that on anybody. So, even though Rogue may have seemed to overstep her bounds a little bit, as a leader, I think it's up to the leader to kind of push their soldiers a little bit to understand that the real world, right, in the comic books, isn't going to go easy on them. All right, so you can kind of see both sides. I side with Rogue on this one a little bit because if you're going to go out there unsure and untrained of yourself, you're only putting yourself and your teammates at risk. Okay, so moving on. Also, at the same time, it seems like some of the guards and staff at Grey Malkin prison now has come across some sort of infection or sickness that isn't really being paid attention to at the moment because of the Xavier thing going on. But we pick up with a guard a few miles away from the school slash prison, and the wife is calling him to breakfast. He seems to be infected with whatever this mysterious illness is, creating him to believe that he's under threat by these sentinels, and you're led to believe that he took the family out. Okay? And we see here 1, 2, 3 kids, a dog, and the wife. A rough day for that family, man. I'll tell you that. So, I don't know if that's going to be a story that runs through this X-Men hunt story, or if we're going to come back to that in the Uncanny Xmen series here. So time will tell with that. We do get Xavier reaching out to Sarah. If you remember from the first story, that's his old girlfriend, even before Moira, and they broke up because of the want of children. Sarah got very jealous over Xavier's mission and wanted to get revenge on his kids. She felt like his goals and his life, excuse me, took him away from her and the life they could have had. And she wound up dying and coming back in some sort of creature, if you will, that even wounded Wolverine pretty good, beat up Rogue pretty good. So, he asks her for help, and she does help him escape. And when he comes out, he's not realizing that Rogue's team is already there at the school, but he's seeing them in some sort of distorted way. Like instead of Iceman, we see Iceman, Nightcrawler, and Jubilee Cyclops, and Wolverine Beast. You catch what I'm meaning here? And so his vision, how he's looking at the world, is distorted. And it's due possibly to, again, touch back to the beginning of this particular run of this series, that there's a brain tumor at the base of his head that is affecting, you know, him at this point, more so at this point, and he's realizing these aren't his X-Men, and he begins attacking them. Uh, and remember that in his brain, he's still trying to also find a way to go save his daughter. So there's a lot of misfiring in his brain about what's going on and how to handle it. And he's really putting the boots to the X-Men, you know. And one of the coolest things, and this is coming from a Nightcrawler fan, one of my favorite character, yo, he freezes Nightcrawler in mid teleportation, and he basically leaves him like that and leaves Grey Malkin. And here's Kurt's backside. Here's Kurt over here. Here's the rest of X-Men taken out, and Xavier's going bye bye, bye bye, and that's where this issue ends. There was a list here of um, the following issues here, but I want to get to that so I can let you guys know where else to go for this particular story. And I'm going to kind of just give you a heads up if you don't want to do that on what happens there. And where can you be, my friend? How did I miss it? Oh, it's at the last page. Durr. So part 1 was here. Part 2 was in this series called NYX. Part 3 was in Storm. Issue 6, Part 4 was in X-Men 13, X Factor number 8, Exceptional X-Men number 7, Collateral Damage it's called, X-Force number 9, and then finally X-Men Hunt Omega, the last part. I'll leave this here in case you want to pause it real quick and see. And in the story, we find out that there is one last resurrection golden egg, and Xavier activates it, and it's Lalandra. She must have been dead. That I didn't know about that until I got the information from the story. And him and Lalandra go to space to help their daughter with her issues with the Shira Empire. And that was supposed to be touched on in the current storyline of Imperial. I don't know if we got a point of view from those characters about what was going on with them in that story or not. I'm just reviewing this particular issue, and then we're going to get back into again the next chapter of this series here, which is issue 12. That's the review here. Let me know what you guys think of this. Are you tired of seeing Xavier? Yes or no? What are you thinking about this as we approach wrapping up the first year of this title here? Let me know what you're thinking. And until next time, peace, Nickums.